I still remember one day vividly, and all it was I'd pick the boys up from school one afternoon, realised we need to eat, so we better go to the supermarket and get some supplies. And I just remember getting halfway down an aisle and just stopping and thinking, what the hell am I doing? I just didn't even know how to shop.
G'day legends, just letting you know that the TX support line is now up and running. If you're a tradie, a truckie or a blue collar worker, don't let it get any harder. Text or call, this is a conversation starter on 04 888 469 88. If you have a family member, friend or a loved one who is a blue collar worker that may be doing it tough and you're not sure where to turn, we're here for you too. Text or call 04 888 469 88. Well, that
sweet.
Must be time for another episode of Trade Mutt's 120 Grit podcast, the podcast for the working class. And when it comes to the working class, there is none better than Mr. Dave McKerihan. Now, Dave, let me introduce you because this is going to be good. There's a cracking photo of you once being stumped by Australian wicketkeeper Brad Haddon while you were playing for South Canberra Cricket Club. It's a cracker. You're probably the only man to have ever scored a maximum in 3 codes at Manuka Oval in Canberra. That was a boundary, a try playing rugby union and a 6-pointer playing AFL. And most importantly, you have broken one of our biggest rules by wearing a leather jacket in the Trade Mutt's 120 Grit studio. I don't know how you got in, mate. Welcome.
Welcome.
Cheers. Yes, a leather jacket, as I said, we're in sunny Brisbane and we get 3 days of winter every year in this city. I spent more money than I should have on buying this leather jacket, so I've got to take any excuse I can.
Yeah.
So,
I actually know the real reason you're here. And it's to talk about that century that I scored off 44 balls again, isn't it? Because you didn't get enough of that last time.
Oh, I do remember that, yeah.
What do you mean you do remember that? Of course you remember that.
You're a clown, mate. You're a clown. No, it's good to get you in here, Dave, because we actually spoke about this over a nice bit of pizza about 12 months ago before the Souths Broncos game. It was a cracker last year. And I said we'd love to get you on because you've got a really good story and it's a story we'd love to share and we're about to, so it's going to be great. Bit of backstory, I suppose, is that our connection, how we know each other, is through my uncle, Uncle Greg, who I do often quote on this podcast, which he absolutely adores, and I'm sure he'd be listening to this one. And you guys are old schoolmates from Canberra.
Yep, that's right. Don't forget your other uncle as well.
Ace, yeah, I'm sure Ace. Yeah, he'd have 5 minutes on the way to work every morning to tune in.
Their favourites here, are they?
That's right.
Just Ace is just a bit busier.
It's a definite family connection, yes, and we could talk for hours about the McKerihan-Haywood relationship, and we probably will go into that.
We'll definitely dive into that for sure. So just give us a bit of a background on you, and you're formerly from Canberra, but you're obviously a Brisbaneite now. Yeah.
Thanks, boys, for giving me the opportunity to tell a story or two. In more recent times, I know I've really cottoned on to the power of storytelling through a whole host of things that have occurred and continue to occur. And I really do see the power in people being allowed to tell their stories. In one way, it's just for them to get it off their chest and say whatever they think needs to be said, but also just to give other people the opportunity to listen and hear their story. So on to me, Canberra is where I grew up, spent the best part of my life. Then, how long ago was it? 20 years ago, roughly. Met a lovely, lovely girl down in Canberra. Everything went fabulously down there, so we decided to get married. She was a Queenslander.
Good taste.
Yes. We stayed in Canberra for a little while. She fell pregnant with our first child and all of a sudden decided she was homesick and she wanted to come home to Queensland. So she said to me, come on, let's move to Queensland. And I immediately thought, I'm pretty socially connected here now. I've got my footy, I've got my cricket. Do I really want to be doing this? But again, you get to that stage in life where you realise, well, yes, I've got family now, so probably a good idea to make the move. So we did that, moved up here straight away. I thought, my goodness, this place is hot. So I struggled for the first couple of years just with the humidity and just different goings on around a brand new place. But over time got very comfortable with it and thought, great move, that's the best thing I ever did. Melissa had our first child. We followed up with another one a year or two later and got to a certain stage where things could not possibly have been any better. Everything was ticking along beautifully, very happy family. I thought, yeah, tick the box. Well done, Dave. Good move. Win, win, win. After a number of years, when things were still ticking along, all of a sudden, my dear old wife had some health complications. But again, she charged on bravely. We went to various specialists and ended up spending some time down in Sydney, and Charlie Teo did some magnificent surgery on her and some brain surgery, and he convinced us that things were going to be fine, and he now owned her head, but don't worry about that, he'll look after it. So again, life was just going to charge on. We were going to continue to grow our lovely family. But tragically, further complications ensued, and then roughly 9 years ago, Melissa lost the fight, and we lost her in 2011. So obviously, for me, that was pretty much as big a kick in the guts as you could get. So things became very difficult from that day onward. It was just me and two boys, and they were 10 years old and 12 years old at that stage. So I thought, okay, what do we do now? So again, we just played on as best we could. Thankfully, I had the support of loving family on my side of the fence, and then also Melissa's family also, or Queenslanders, very helpful and supportive as well. So we just churned through the years, learning along the way on how us three boys were going to survive on our own. And it's through that ride that, I don't know, you just get a bit of a different perspective on everything in life. My work became quite a difficult situation as well. But again, thankfully I got some support there as well. So I was just able to keep plugging along, smiling as I went, just hoping things would somehow get better. And it's probably through that ride, and again, through the work, the support from work, where all of a sudden I got more involved in the mental health side of things. I also, quite tragically along this ride, bumped into a few little health issues of my own, where a little mysterious neurological condition sort of came upon me that some people may even suggest I always had, because I never had the greatest set of pins, and even back in my footy days, I used to cop a bit of flack about how well I didn't move across the turf. But it turns out now, it could be related to this neurological drama that's playing out with me more now and requires the use of this walking stick. So things continued to get tougher and tougher. But again, a supportive work environment, and almost coincidentally, it was all around the time that diversity and inclusion became a thing. So I thought, okay, well, I'll jump on this ride, and through that, I've got a lot closer to that side of things.
Mate, it's a hard story. I mean, I couldn't imagine, what it's been like for you to go through that, especially with 2 young sons. I mean, wow, that's you were put in a very hard, tough situation. Not only did you have to grieve your wife, but you also had to step up to the plate and look after your 2 boys. I mean, how did you manage through that? Obviously, it was extremely difficult, but how did you manage your next steps through that? Was it all just a blur?
It was all a blur. It was all with difficulty. I mean, the amount of things I think back to, I still remember one day vividly, and all it was I'd pick the boys up from school one afternoon, realised we need to eat, so we better go to the supermarket and get some supplies. And I just remember getting halfway down an aisle and just stopping and thinking, what the hell am I doing? I just didn't even know how to shop. Like shopping for me used to be, go and get a pie and a soft drink because I'm a bit hungry. But all of a sudden, no, I've got to get the groceries for the next 2 weeks, and what am I going to cook and what do I need, and that second dawned on me. I have not got a clue what I'm doing, and I almost gave up. I almost just thought, come on, boys, we'll just get McDonald's. We'll go home. We'll have to think about this. But again, over the years, you learn things. You get forced into learning. So all of a sudden I've learned, okay, you've got to pay a bit more attention in the kitchen as to things that are in the cupboard and things that are in the fridge.
Things do perish.
And that's right. Things need replacing. And little things like used to watch my mum write her little notes of things that are required, and you'd have a little laugh at your mum, say, oh, mum, that's a bit silly. And then all of a sudden I'm writing my own little lists and notes as well. So, you learn.
It's the other thing too, and we spoke about this at dinner that night, was sort of, then because you are such a sports fanatic, I suppose you haven't really talked about that yet, but you are right into sports. I know Dan and I, we love our sports. That's why we've got so much in common with you. And, we talk often about Dan's cricket heroics, but we don't like to bring it up on air too much.
I haven't brought that up for a little while. That's the first time, but it's,
But I mean, for you, that story you told me that night where you were running, you used to come back from work in the city on the train, you'd get off the train and you'd run home. And things just started changing on your run home.
Yeah, it was that sort of slow. Like I said, yes, I used to have dodgy pins and I didn't run too well. But I played cricket at a reasonable level. I played footy, and as far as I was concerned, I was fit. I was strong. And I used to do triathlons through work, just corporate triathlons, and then I used to try and stay fit. I'd I'd catch a train into 4 kilometres from home and then go for a 4K trot home. And I was one afternoon just trotting along the stretch of pathway, and I had to stop, and I wasn't buggered. It wasn't exhaustion. I just had to stop and sit down, and it was the bizarrest of feelings. It was almost just like I'd forgotten how to run. So I just walked home and just thought, gee, that was bizarre. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll fight that, so I'll try and do it again the next day. And then just very, very slowly but surely, running became harder and harder, where I just, okay, well, I'll stop going for jogs. I can't do that anymore. But then it went the next level. Even, I'd be in the city at work, and you just, pop across the road to grab a sandwich or something, and bus comes, so you got to trot 10 metres just to beat the bus, and all of a sudden you realise, hang on, I can't even do this. So it was a very slow and frustrating progression, and it was terrible because I'd sort of be in a bit of denial and just think, no, I'm all right. I've just got to keep working at it. But then I'd catch a glimpse of myself in a window or something and think, oh my goodness, my gait has gone to pot as well. So even my walking is looking particularly dodgy now. So once you start noticing it yourself, and that's probably was about the point in time where I just thought, there's something not right here. It's time to go talk to some doctors, and again, a lot of head scratching even by them, where we eventually arrived at a diagnosis.
Now, were you how much time afterwards had your wife passed away till this started to happen?
I mean, in all honesty, it had happened before she passed away, but I could still get around all right, and it didn't worry me so much. So it was probably a few years after that it really started to
take
hit.
hold. Yeah,
that's right. So,
I mean, I said it to you that night. I said it to you a few times. I mean, you've got every ability to just hate on everything and just be like, fuck, why me? This is all, what have I done to deserve all of this? That you've got a mindset that not many people through your situation would have. And I mean, we'd love to know how you obtain that.
Well, it's interesting because I do remember that chat, and I remember you talking about, the cards you've been dealt, saying, oh, and you've got a particularly bad hand dealt to you, and I'd agree with that. But by the same token, and again, and through my exposure to listening to a lot of other people tell their stories as well, a lot of other people have had bad hands dealt to them as well. And then you also hear people who have had pretty good hands dealt to them and are still struggling and battling. And it just opens your eyes that, and it's a silly term, but the whole, shit happens, but things do happen, and good things happen. And I've had plenty of good things happen to me. Don't worry about that. And the whole 20 years I had with Melissa was complete and absolute top shelf, and I'm so thankful for it. So I've got to be thankful for that. And yes, there's been some ordinary things happen along the way too. But again, when you see a lot of other people dealing with whatever they've been dealt, you just realise that there's no point in just saying, okay, well, I should give up on everything because I've got a particularly bad hand. You've really just got to say, well, no, that's what I've got to deal with. So let's deal with it.
The thing is, you're not comparing it to anything else either. This is the ride that you're on. So
that's right. And you're still, the whole term happy-go-lucky, I always like to think I've been happy-go-lucky, so I'm just going to continue to be that. And I'm still just seeking to have fun at every opportunity I can have. Now, if that means I need someone to come and pick me up and drive me somewhere to go and have that fun, that's
just
the
it
way
now.
it is now. That's right. I can't.
That's awesome.
I have a bunch of questions. Because, your story is compelling, and sure, you've had some fucking shit. So dealing with, you've been one individual who's had the opportunity to experience this Charlie Teo.
Yeah.
Now, this guy is there's all sorts of different things, the media, whatever. But my perception, my God, what a guy.
Yeah, he's in no holds bar type operator, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just, if he can, he will.
For sure, and he's willing to have a crack and do the things that a lot of people won't. What's it like to, I guess, relinquish control of? Because I would imagine that both yourself and Melissa at that time would have essentially relinquished control to this guy.
It was exactly that, and even Charlie used those exact words, as I said. I own your head now. But the thing with Charlie, and it's the thing with a lot of people, once you get to meet these people, and even if it's just sit down and have a 5-minute chat, you get some idea about what sort of person they are and what makes them tick. And anyway, the first time I had that chat with Charlie in the hospital, I thought, gee, he's a good bloke. But, people can turn that on, so maybe, let's not be too quick to judge. But then it was interesting. We were staying at a hotel in Coogee while Melissa was in the hospital. And, I had the 2 young boys under my control, and Melissa had the surgery, and it was a few days after, and it was time for her to come home to the hotel. And she'd been ringing me and telling me when she thought she might be available, and I was trying to organise, okay, I've got to get the boys organised and what are we going to do for dinner, and it all became a bit tricky. Then all of a sudden, there was a knock on the hotel door, and I opened it, and there was Melissa just standing there, 4 days after brain surgery. And I just said, I thought I was going to come and get you. She said, that's okay, Charlie gave me a lift. So, right. So, he had his kids in the back and he was going in that direction. So I just said, I'll drop you off.
Well, you would imagine he's pretty well grounded if that's, if he's still up for giving a patient a lift home. That's
right. That's right.
But you don't hear that stuff, do you?
Exactly. So
Yeah,
out.
wow. Is it? I would imagine that when you deal with a guy like that, you think, look, as you said, he's got it. It's in his hands now, and this guy's a miracle worker, and everything's going to be all right. Did you think that? Did you believe that was going to be the case?
I did, and that's exactly. Looking back now, I just trusted him immediately, just to think, okay, well, he said everything's going to be great. So,
but I mean, so you should. What other mindset are you going to take into that? Right?
And I'm sure, because it's the psychology of it all as well, and I'm sure. And Charlie probably does that deliberately, because, what if he was
he goes in there with,
he's not going to say
70,
that's
30.
right.
That's not
right.
good.
Yeah. I thank him for that, because like Melissa had that surgery. We came home from Sydney, and, she had a fair period of recovery. But it was only a week or two later. She was getting out and about again, and was recovering quite well. And she was very keen to remain active. And I remember just thinking, Charlie was right. Have a look at her. Here we are a month or two later, and she's charging on with life. And the things that were obviously spinning around in her head, knowing what she'd been through and not so certain about her future, she obviously thought, okay, well, I can have a crack now. So she decided, okay, well, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to get busy. I'm going to. So all of a sudden, she was just going at things at 100 miles an hour.
New lease for life.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of trying to slow her down and say, look, you're not well. And she's, no, but I'm all right, and this is good. This is what we need to do, and I need. So that period in time was very difficult, very busy with all of the busyness around, my work and her setting up a business and the two young boys, all very difficult. But I just think back and think, okay, imagine if it hadn't turned out that way, and we'd have just come back from Sydney, heads down, and just, we're doomed.
Defeated.
We're doomed, defeated. Let's just ride out as long as it takes now and just sit there feeling
I suppose
sorry
those
for
days
ourselves.
were probably golden days, I suppose, because you had that lift. You were like, we're going to be all right.
Well, it was. I mean, it was all very positive. It was busy, and being busy is good. So it was good. It helped us get through what, as it turns out, ended up being a very, very difficult time, because then a few more complications came along, things got worse, and then spiralled into what was the end.
So we've had a few people, I mean, my brother for one, Ben, who edits the podcast, he loves when we mention him. They've just had babies, and there's no rule book. There's no guide.
They just
give
drop
them
it
to you.
It's like, you can go home now.
That's you. They can't eat Maccas yet, but, you'll get there.
You'd probably blend a
nugget.
double cheese.
I think they're already blended, aren't they? But basically, there's no guide. There's no, whatever. And there's certainly no guide to parenting through navigating a situation like this. But you're in a situation where your other half is the one going through the grief, and God knows where your kids' heads would have been at. But I would imagine you then thrust into the position of being the rock.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and it's Melissa enjoyed being a mother so much. I mean, she was, to be honest, when I met her down in Canberra, she was extremely successful in her chosen field, and to some extent, I was thinking, well, this is going to be great. I'll just live off her coattails.
Stay at home, Dad. Here we go.
That's right.
I'll play golf every afternoon.
Well,
You would have been buggered in the shopping hole.
But then, as soon as kids came along, she just wanted to be a mum. And so all of a sudden the pressure was on me, no, you got to get out there and you got to earn the money, and you got to support your family. And I sort of said, well, that's not what I was planning on. So she then just dedicated herself to becoming the greatest mother. And honestly, sometimes it was exhausting, because she'd be getting us three boys up out of bed early because we've got to go off here to this sport and then over there to here, and then we've got round for a family visit here. And it was just go, go, go. And everything was just super organised, and we've got to do this, and we've got commitments here, and then we're doing this, and yes, and all the boys are going to learn to play all these instruments. And the amount of a few times I just felt like saying, can we just chill? Can we just have
exist?
And it was
You're
just
probably
no.
sitting there with your feet up on the couch at the stubby watching the Raiders going, can we just have 5 minutes?
That was very true. I mean, and that even, there was some anger at times. Sometimes it wasn't even, I was like,
That's for everyone though, isn't it? Just let it go.
It is, but again, looking back, I just know what a magnificent foundation she built over those years. And then when I had to take over, when they were 10 and 12, I thought, well, things aren't going to stay the same because I'm just not capable. But just knowing that the foundations were so solid that there's still a pretty good chance that we're going to end up with a decent result for these two wonderful boys. And I'd happily say now, sort of almost 9 years later, they're two good young kids.
Bloody oath, mate.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I mean, it's wow. I just can't sort of. It's hard to imagine what that would be like. I suppose parenting is one of those things you just literally can't imagine until you're thick in it, and then whatever it throws at you, you just got to be prepared. Like there's no what are you going to do?
It's consistent curveballs because Mum always says that there's no bloody degree in parenting. Like everyone's just out there winging it to a pretty large degree, I suppose. And in a situation like that,
What's interesting, even boys might have heard me talk recently about grief and how, again, with mental health issues, and you talk about post-traumatic stress and all that sort of thing. Now, I'm convinced I went through a trauma and that was part of the grief. Now, how I handled it, who knows? But you just don't know what it's doing to you. So I don't really know how well I handle things because I just didn't know what was going on with me. Who knows what happened to me mentally. Again, I've probably thought I handled it okay.
No one's bred the resilience to lose a wife and then have to raise two kids.
You learn it.
No one.
You
learn
learn
it on the through that.
Yeah.
Like you're not.
That's right.
You're not ready. No one's ready for that.
Yeah.
And no one would ever expect it to be. I mean,
how important during that period, there's obviously heaps of periods, but during that period, your support networks, who was it? Who was around? Was it Melissa's family, your family?
Yeah, Melissa's family are the local family, so obviously heavy reliance on them being just sort of in the next suburb or just up the road type thing. But again, my family, of course, even though they're a fair way away, just good networks everywhere just to reach out. I'm part of a big family. I'm one of 7 kids, so I've got 6 siblings that I can reach out to at any time for a chat or an annual game of golf or whatever it is. So there's plenty of, and even through work and through a lot of other little social sort of networks, there's plenty of opportunity to get the help that I needed, and it was amusing. Like the whole school network of families, and there's all the school mums and the school dads, and
because that's a whole new friendship circle you get into, isn't it? Because your kids have got friends, and then their parents, you get along with some of them, and then it's just a whole
that's right
new thing.
And all of a sudden, going to the barbecues, and quite often, rightly or wrongly, all the mums would circulate over here talking about whatever they talk about.
Blokes are over at the barbecue,
and all the blokes are, that's right,
flipping the sausages,
drinking beer, talking about footy. And it was just amazing how after Melissa passed, all of those catch-ups continued. But all of a sudden, I was a bit interested to go over and have a chat to Mandy about because, I did a load of washing last week and I wasn't really happy with the way.
What softener do you use, Mandy?
It was crazy.
That's incredible.
So, I know.
So that's literally going over for tips about housekeeping, not going for a flirt. Maybe a bit of both.
Getting your fabric
I did
softeners.
notice. Whatever it was.
Mate, that wow. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I'd love to talk about the spoils thing that you've got with your brother Micro and my 2 uncles Ace and Greg, or Dreege as you like to call him. I mean, It's an annual golf tournament that you four blokes play. Run us through it, because I think it's a very important piece of your story.
Yeah, it is. It's a great story. As we got the two elder boys, which is me and Greg or Dreege, who are about the same age. Both went to the same school, and then the two younger blokes, Michael or Micro, and Marty or Ace, and they were in the same year as well. So anyway, growing up, going to school together, there was always a lot of times where we did things together, and as we got older, a bit of rivalry developed, as it does with everything. And we'd be sitting in a pub one time talking about, who was the better cricket family, or who was the better football family, or whatever. And a few more beers, and it'd lead to all sorts of carry on. But as we got a bit older and golf started to become more and more of a thing, that's where we got fairly fierce with our rivalry. So one day we just said, well, we better settle this. So, how are we going to do that? Well, okay, let's go out one day. We'll come up with a format. We'll play golf, and whoever loses has to shout dinner to the winners. So we just wandered out to a golf course in Canberra one day, played 36 holes, or as it turned out, 39 holes, because we were all square after 36. And I think I rolled in a curly 12-footer on the 39th to bring home the bacon. So the McKerihans won the inaugural spoils, as we labelled it. So there we were in the pub, Kingo that night, talking about what a great day that was. That was fantastic, some great golf, and Micro, I think, got us back in it on about the second last hole, and then we went 2 extra holes, and this is fantastic, and we should do more of this. So we just decided, well, let's do it every year. Okay, well, how are we going to do it? So it all just evolved from that. We decided we were going to fund it through our magnificent punting, because we were all exceptional punters. And year 2, we didn't punt so well, but we still chuffed off somewhere, and we made a long weekend of it, and we played some great golf. We had a bit of fun. The Haywoods won this year, so all of a sudden it's 1-1, and it has all just taken on from there, and we're up to about year 24 now.
24 years haven't missed a year?
Last year, well, very, very sadly, the first year we missed was the MLS passed away, so there's a big teardrop in that year. And then with us all starting to struggle a bit with old age and other complications, we didn't manage to squeeze one out in 2019.
You might have to revert to putt, mate.
Well, no, we'll find a way. And Greggy particularly is desperate for us to get out.
Oh, yeah.
And we might have to make up. We might have to do a double header this year.
Sounds like a struggle.
I mean, I suppose what I want to talk about is how important that group of mates and your brother, how important that's sort of been through your life. I mean, I'm sure there's a group chat, and I often used to hear stories from Ace and Greg about how every Christmas we'd talk about how'd the punting club go this year, because Poss and Gaz would always be talking about who won spoils and how the punting group's going. So how important has that been as a group of mates and circle?
It's key, and I mean we mentioned that little group, which is just 4 of us on an annual golf trip, but you mentioned your WhatsApp groups and whatnot. I've got a little collect of old footy mates who still chat a lot and send a lot of beer selfies and quaddie every Saturday, which is just magnificent, because it's just an opportunity with everything that everyone's battling with. It's just great to be able to pick up your phone, reach out, and some chat happens. Then there's another little group which is old cricket mates. And it is, sometimes I just sit there, obviously just realising, where would I be without this sort of reach out? Because these are a lot of my friends that I grew up with who live a long way away now. So I can't jump on the phone and say, Leanne, let's pop down to the pub for a beer. But we can almost do that virtually now. So it's very valuable. And it's interesting too, because it's funny when arguments arise and how sometimes there's yelling and screaming goes on in your chat groups, and then someone leaves the group and you think,
Yeah, piss off.
Got him. Never liked that fella anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's the whole sledging. Sledging is an art.
Yeah.
And growing up playing cricket in Canberra, particularly, because a lot of it went on. But it's one thing that it's an actual skill to be able to sledge well, but again, without hurting people, without it getting too personal.
There's a difference between insulting someone and just getting under their skin. Oh my God. Like that is what, to me, that's what sledging is. It's just finding a way to get under their skin.
And you love doing it too.
That's right.
You're a pain in the ass.
Yes.
Oh, well, I mean,
mate, I'm good at it.
we know how to get under each other's skin, and we do it intentionally a lot of the time. It's great.
Yeah,
it is good.
Oh, it is.
The other thing too with those group chats, it gives you the ability to sort of escape what's going on and just get into a whole new thing. Like at night, it's it's great getting in there and seeing what everyone's been up to. It's great opportunity to just switch off as well, which is great.
Yep.
To be honest, I've gone away from the group chats a little bit because I've found that with the amount of, I suppose, interaction on social media with Trademark that I do.
Oh, you do heaps, yeah.
It's you kind of, when I get home of a night, it's the last thing I want to do is look at my phone anymore. And so for me, that's probably one sort of thing that's fallen away a little bit. It's just a tendency to like not want to do it because of just the technology thing. It's just like
enough already.
Need a break from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm also, as is everyone, very big, people like face-to-face person. You can't beat that, but, I suppose.
We have been through COVID, so.
WhatsApp is the next best thing, isn't it? So it's,
WhatsApp, yeah.
What, so when you've navigated the, the physical injury that you've got, I suppose a disability is what it is. Yep. How did your identity change when that came about for you? And I mean that obviously in terms of, how...
Because you're an avid sports bloke. Like, you love your sport.
Yeah. So, I don't really know the answer to that question. I still love my sport. And so I don't know if my identity has changed at all. And that's, I think, what I try to tell myself a lot. And I think part of it is denial for the whole thing. Like, I still sometimes... just think, no, I'm all right. I can still, and like I'm in support groups with other people who have the same ailment, but different variations of it. And a lot of people are in wheelchairs and can't walk at all. So I just think, well, I've got to consider myself lucky. I can still wobble about. And sometimes if I'm particularly feeling good and loose, I can get a few steps out and I think, no, I'm
get a bit
I'm
of pace
okay.
up.
Yeah, I think I'm all right. So it's the whole denial thing. I just say, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm all right. I still, and this is a challenge I'll put down to both you boys, I still reckon I could beat either one of you in a game of table tennis.
We are going to get a table here eventually.
I will take that challenge.
That's right.
I'll put my keys on the table for that one.
So that's right. So,
but going from, being an avid sports person and then, experiencing that, I suppose that change in ability, do people treat you differently? Is it like, around the workplace, around the,
stuff that pisses you off. You're like, I don't need that.
Yeah. Does it give you the shits, or like what, how
or are you like, this is great. People are bringing me cups of water and tea now.
Yeah.
Oh, not really. It's, most people I know are good about it. So, there's lots of funny examples. We'll be at work back when we were in the office, and a fire drill would happen, and all of a sudden the wardens are walking around the office ushering everyone, come on, fire drill, and they just take one look at me and go, oh, you're not moving, are you? And I just look there and say, no, I'm not moving. So, I try as much as I can just to play as if. No, it's still same old me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of frustration there and a lot of anger, as I said the other day, because it's a degenerative thing that is going to keep degenerating.
Going to get worse. How do you look after yourself mentally when that's happening? Like what do you do? What do you do?
Pretty simply, I just again give thanks that it hasn't degenerated as rapidly as it has for others, and that I can still get about. I can still wobble about all right. I'm not in a wheelchair tragically, even though that day might still be coming. So you've just got to give thanks for the little things that you can still.
It's such an awesome
thanks for.
mindset. It's fucking great.
You mentioned the anger. So does this just kind of come and go? Like, do you have good times, bad times?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then how do you, because you're perfectly entitled to be angry about it. Do you have a way to let it out? Like, you know what I mean?
Not
Yeah.
Not
Got a punching
really.
bag at home, nothing.
No, I mean it's
With Uncle Greg's face on it.
you almost just resign yourself. Yeah, you know that life for everyone, regardless of situation, is full of highs and lows. So you know there's going to be lows, and it could be a low that's brought about because particular frustration with something's just happened around my disability, but it's just another low, and you know that they come and so do highs. So you just get better at riding out the lows. You almost just sort of roll your eyes and say, "Oh, okay,
Here we are again.
Here we go."
I know
That's right.
I can work through this. So you're just building a lot more resilience, yeah. And you I suppose you're learning from your experiences, which is important.
Yeah, well, because I think factored into it also is just the fact that through it all, we're also getting old, and
Sure are.
and with getting old, so we're told, comes wisdom. So you just think, well, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe I'm
wiser now.
Maybe I'm getting a bit wiser. So you know, who's to know how I would have handled this as a 25-year-old?
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned it's your passion for storytelling right at the start, and I think that's fantastic. And I think it's actually a really great way to reframe what it actually means to talk about, our struggles, our challenges, or whatever. To reframe it as, no, we're just telling a story, having a yarn, because that's all it is.
And everyone's got one.
That's literally all we do as humans. I can't remember who's been talking about it. I think we might have talked about it, but all you do as a human being when you get around your mates, all you do is tell stories. You get around the pub, that's it.
Or bull yarns, which haven't quite happened.
Or just talk absolute
Shit.
shit, which we do pretty well.
Yeah.
But how have you always had a passion for storytelling, or has it been a newfound?
No, I think I always have, but it's been interesting in more recent times how it almost relates to sort of all walks of life, including at work. Like with some roles I've had in the past, I'm a bit of a middleman. Sometimes there's a particular area of the business who's not happy with another area of the business, and then they're just at each other's throats, and I'm sort of supposed to be the mediator. And people say, "What are you going to do here? How are you going to fix this?" Because they're not happy, and they're that. And I don't necessarily probably have the skill around the technical thing that they're upset about, but the amount of times that I've found, just get these people in a room and look each other in the face and start telling their stories about their own experience, and we're upset because of this, and this happened the other day, and blah blah blah, and then the other side says, "Oh, well, that's interesting because." From our side of the fence, it's really, and then all of a sudden a bit of storytelling back and forwards, and well, if we'd have understood that, I see. Oh, well, let's talk more about this. This, I reckon we can find a way out here. And all of a sudden, I haven't had to do anything except get these people in a room just to talk.
It's communication.
It is, and just sharing their stories and helping each other understand each other, and then realising that let's just work towards an outcome, a solution here.
But the power of you being, I suppose, a facilitator. That's exactly the word I was looking for. You nailed that. That's a clip, Ben. You just facilitating that conversation, opening the line of communication is the most powerful thing that anyone can do. And as you say, it all comes back to storytelling.
Yeah. And that was just a learning for me at some time in history where I probably walked into a room one day thinking, this is going to go pear-shaped. This is terrible. I don't know what to do. I don't know. And I just observed what happened, and I just thought, hang on, they've told a story. They've come back with another story, and then they all walk out hand in hand almost.
How good's that?
Yeah, well, talking, storytelling, you've just been through the 25 push-ups a day for 25 days.
And looking like a rig.
And a rig, yeah. Barely fit back into the jacket. But each night you didn't just get there and punch your 25 push-ups out and say, yep, good work. you sat there and really
You took
you
it-
were quite
you took it
vulnerable.
on.
You're
Yeah.
you were quite vulnerable, and I thought, fuck, Dave mate, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Because you told stories every night, and you had your wall of heroes behind you, and you were talking through them, and mate, it was a really awesome thing to watch. How was it for you doing that? Because you were quite vulnerable. You did.
Yeah, and that's part of what I've also been exposed to through more involvement in this is how good it is sometimes to expose your vulnerability. And the mate of mine who nominated me, an old boss from years and years ago, I was watching him churn through his 25 days of 25 push-ups, and he was telling some good stories and battling a bit and telling some stories about some difficult times in his life, which is tough to do, to get out there and spin
Open
that
to the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So he exposed his vulnerability very well. I thought, good on you, Stewie, well done. And then he's nominated me. And my initial reaction was, I don't play these games. I don't do this nomination stuff. I'm not going to give you 10 album covers. Without any, I just thought I'm not going to do that. But then I thought to myself, well, hang on, got more time now because of COVID and we're all in lockdown. I'm more involved through work with diversity and inclusion, and I'm seeing up close some of this sort of mental health challenges. So I should do something. So I thought, yeah, come on, Dave, do something. So I just got there for day one. I spun together a bit of a yarn. I think that was my Georgie Gregan book episode. And away I went. And then I did it. And I thought, well, that wasn't so bad. But then it dawned on me that I've got to do this 24 more times. So all of a sudden I had to start thinking about it.
Coming up with what you were going to talk about.
That's right, which was a bit of fun as well.
Would have given you a good opportunity to reflect.
Yeah, were you sitting at home at night thinking, I'll have to do this one? Or were you like planning at the days, or like day 20 will be perfect for this yarn? Like,
not a lot. I mean, I normally did it, like I'm working from home now, and so I'd sort of knock off about 5 o'clock and then just pop next door into my little rumpus room, and then I'd churn it out there. And then as soon as I'd finished, I'd just lie back and think, right, what am I going to do tomorrow? And I'd just take a few little notes and say, okay, here's my approach. So I'd sort of take about half an hour out of the day at the end of every work day to produce the one for that day, and then to plan out the one for the next day. And it just became a bit of a rhythm.
Well, we talk often about how important, physical health is to an overall, mental well-being and great health. With, what you've been going through with your disability, how hard has it been for you to find a way to physically work out to maintain your overall, mental well-being and overall, physical health? How hard's that been to transition?
Well, very hard. But again, thankfully, with all sorts of specialists available and the support groups that I've got access to, and hearing other people's stories about how they're dealing with the same thing, is, the importance of stretching and all these different exercises you can do. And I found out that, I know physios quite well because my aforementioned brother is one, and so is his wife. So I realised, okay, I've got to find myself a good physio. And then I found out there's such a thing as a neurophysio, so physios who specialise in neurological conditions. So I thought, I'll look up the yellow pages, and I found one, and they just happened to be 2 minutes around the corner. I thought, this is perfect. So I lobbed around and met Roger, and got to know Roger quite well. And all of a sudden it was becoming difficult for me to be able to find the time to go and see Roger regularly because of work and because of other things. So Roger said, look, how about we'll come in really early on a Wednesday. How about we do a 6 o'clock? So all of a sudden I just got into this routine of before work every fortnight, Roger would treat me. And that just helped. And through Roger, I've also now got an exercise physiologist as well who's actually making me do a bit of work myself. So it's just having these people to help you.
And how important has that been for you?
I don't really know. That's part of the frustration. I mean, sometimes.
So it's not making you better, but how does it make you feel better?
Well, I think it does, because it does anyone. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, I've got my little exercise bike set up at home and my weights bench, and if I'm doing nothing, I get angry. But if I'm doing stuff, I feel better. So it's just the same for anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Working to your limitations, I suppose, isn't it?
yeah.
Finding what works. Yeah.
I want to go back to the 25 push-ups thing because you talked about vulnerability and we talk about that's what this whole brand is about.
Yep.
And talking openly, telling stories, and you've done that for 25 days. How did you feel at the start of the start of it when you did that first one and then the last one? Did you feel like you'd just been on this journey of just opening right up? You know, like did you sort of – was there a bit of resolution kind of at the end of it, or was it, you know?
A little bit. It did. I grew quite comfortable with it as well. I was actually enjoying some of the fun of it with me, people up on the wall, and you know, my little jokes I made about that's Don Bradman's cricket bat. You know, so I played with it a bit and had some fun, and did come to enjoy it. But I was also quite happy in that, you know, I think I'm delivering a good message here too, because you know the whole mental health story is something that we really need to spend a lot of time.
Well, it's yours is one of the few examples that I could think of, because I was saying to you, I watched, whenever I saw it pop up, I was watching it and I was just engaged. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I know you. But I just completely lost where I was going with that.
Watching.
Yeah, no, I was watching and it was just like, you're one of the only blokes I've seen who's actually taken on one of those challenges and done it for what it was intended to be, where you actually genuinely talk about it and not just
that's what I was saying before. You weren't just doing them.
I'm doing the 25 push-ups. There you go, next bloke. Like you did the part that's integral to creating change around the way we talk about mental health. You actually talked about it.
Yeah, and again, I think it comes back to, as I said, some of my involvement with diversity and inclusion at work, where I've been exposed, to other colleagues of mine who have got some terrible challenges through whatever circumstances they've been mixed up in. And I just think we've got to talk about this stuff. We've got to, it's the whole simple things like being kind to each other, how some people just aren't even very good at that. And they might think, I had a chat with so-and-so, but they weren't very nice to me. Well, you don't always understand what the other person might be going through. So you should always just make the assumption that whoever you're dealing with could be fighting all sorts of battles. So just be nice to them.
Yeah, remove yourself and your emotion from it and just understand how they're going.
Just make being kind your default.
You are echoing the words of Tick Everett from Dolly's Dream Foundation, says the same thing. You just never know. Excuse me, what people are going through. And you just, as humans, there's one simple thing that we can do for each other, and it's not make each other's life any harder than it has to be.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as just, blocking out your preconceived ideas or your own, bullshit, and just being a good bloke. Just chill out and be nice.
Well, one other good bit of support I've had is through a bloke that you'll probably know called Dave McKerihan.
He's the guy who was on Channel 10, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And I just met him through an event through my work connections with diversity and inclusion, and we just got chatting after. I hunted him down for a bit of a chat. He's a Carlton supporter, so we maybe weren't going to get on, but we did. Anyway, through that, we've just formed a bit of a mateship, and we're staying in contact now. But again, his story, he's been very successful in his chosen field, but very tragically, he lost a father and a brother to suicide. So, he's dealt with hell as well, but he's used this as his way of getting over that, and he wants to help people and support people. And the more you just think about it, I've got another very good friend of mine whose similar thing has had two immediate family members commit suicide. It's just tragic. So just about everywhere you look, there's horrific, terrible stories about what people have to deal with every single day. So we've just got to be more wary and careful about how we treat everyone.
Do you feel like you've got the advantage now of having a really distinct sort of different perspective on life to what a lot of other people do or may have?
I'm going to do. Again, part of it I just think is the whole getting old and wisdom and all of that.
The wise old man.
Growth. It's all growth.
Yeah, and it's, we're all counting down to the day that we can just put our feet up and retire and we don't have to do anything. But I just think, for me that's however many years away, but it's getting closer and closer. But I just think, we've got to do what we can in that time frame to do as much as we can. And COVID's given us an opportunity now that new normals are becoming the things that we're talking about. Well, let's really make an effort to get our new normals where we want them to be.
Get it right.
A good default.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
How are the boys going? How old are the boys now?
Well, so they're 21 and 19.
My God.
They're men.
They're in the thick of it.
Well, they are. So they're good. I mean, they got all the usual challenges that I had when I was that age.
Oh, no. Talk me through it, Dave. What sort of challenge are we talking about?
Well, just being hopeless. Fast food. I mean, and again, we even think back to when I was that age and how, you'd have a bit too much fast food. But how easy is it now? I mean, you pick up your phone, you go, boom, 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 and it's there. It is dangerous. It is.
I mean, the what people put into their body, and I'm sure you have learned a lot about this too with what you're going through, is it's so imperative that you are eating good food for longevity because, fuck, it, like Rushy, he's on cholesterol medication. He's fucking 27.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh, no. A story. I mean,
mate, food it can be so bad, so bad.
Well, some of those sugar documentaries that over in America, the Mountain Dew kids who had no teeth, and just the
I was telling you about this the other day. Hey, the corn syrup in America.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So who made people like America? Who made people fat or whatever it was? And they in America, I think it's banned in Australia, but in America they put corn syrup in fucking everything.
Yep.
Burger patties, burger buns, dressing, everything, all the sodas, and that's like.
It's like a sugar thing, isn't it?
Yeah, corn syrup. It's horrendous for you. And I mean, it's,
Well, my eldest boy, Hamish, got a girlfriend at the moment and someone in her family is connected somewhere, and he's been starting to bring home free cases of soft drink.
Oh, fuck.
So in our laundry at the moment, we've got 7 cases of some horrific.
Well, I used to drink it flat out, soft drink.
Yeah.
Used to drink it flat out. When I first started dating my now wife, I used to, on the way over to her place, I'd make sure I had a packet of cigarettes and a 1.25 litre bottle of Sprite. Couldn't have dinner without a Sprite and a cigarette. Needed them, right? I cannot believe, well, I was working pretty hard then so I could burn it off, right? But I did start to bring that into, I'd quit smoking by the time we started Trademark, I think, but I was definitely still on the soft drinks, and I blew out, as Dan would say. I got chunky.
The only bit that I'm not okay with is the working hard part. That might have been a bit of a stretch.
labour intensive. But I just switched to drinking soda water, just water with bubbles in it, and that has changed so much. I just don't drink soft drink at all anymore. I don't reckon I've had a soft drink for probably 6-8 months. I don't reckon I've had a soft drink. I just don't have that craving for it. But when I was in that cycle, every day you'd get it. Lunchtime or smoker, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I need a can of soft drink. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad for you. Ruins you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I used to drive heaps of sugar into myself as a kid, for a long time, and I'm surprised and waiting for for it to catch up with me because I've got no doubt that
Oh, mate, it's catching up.
the teeth will whatever, but
Well, the thing is that you can't. No matter what you eat, there's a consequence to it.
That's right.
And that's what I didn't. That's what I didn't realize. I was like, oh, I can just have 30 apples a day and you'll be healthy. Well, you can't because that's got heaps of sugar in it as well. You know what I mean?
So they're learning all of those lessons now, and again, part of our excuse when we were younger is same with
You burn it off
with beer. You can burn it off. That's right. You're playing footy, you're playing cricket, you're running, you're doing all sorts of things. So it doesn't matter. You're Superman. But again, with COVID now and there's no sport going on,
everything's just getting a little bit wider.
Nothing's getting burnt off.
So what's the message to the boys to cut the soft drink out?
We haven't got long enough, really. I mean, they're good. They're both at uni, battling through. So
getting on, and there's a girlfriend in the mix now.
Yeah. So it's
Working through that.
Yeah.
What, you been to Bunnings recently, have you, Dave? Oh, wow.
Brilliant.
Well, mate, what else? What do you reckon?
Well, how are we going for time? That's the question.
We're coming up to 58 minutes here.
Oh, we've done pretty well. We've done pretty well.
What's on the horizon? What do you reckon? Are you going to try and get a spoils adventure?
Well, yeah, we have to. I mean, I've got to test myself, see how I go hitting the golf ball now because I don't get out much.
When's the last time you hit a golf
anymore.
ball?
Properly, it would be close to a year ago, I'd reckon. I mean, I get out in the backyard now. I've set a new little net up in
We'll
my
have
backyard.
to go. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
Let's go do it in a couple of weekends. You're going to play tomorrow.
Playing golf
Tomorrow.
but it'll be a few weeks ago when this comes out.
Yeah.
But the TX Golf Day by Gardell Electrical. So our last 3 podcasts have been Sam Gardell, Matt Boyce and Lockie Stewart, and then there's me. And so it's the Gardell Captain's Challenge at Brisbane Golf Club.
What time does that start tomorrow? Are you in tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll be in for half a day. But actually, it is worth noting. I've got this right in front of me now because, the TX Foundation is launched.
Yeah.
The text line, the support line is open for anyone who wants to use it. At the moment, we're building capacity because it's we've got mental health professionals on the phone between 9:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. daily, with the goal of building capacity to 24/7. But yeah, for anyone who does want to reach out and chat to a mental health professional, text or call 04888 469 88. And it's a very chilled out approach. You can use it for yourself. You can use it if you're worried about a mate or if you've got a family friend or a loved one who might be going through a bit of grief and you're not sure sort of where to turn to. So
Don't let it get any harder.
text this is a conversation starter.
I thought I'd also just Bryn's little
The tradie accountant?
tradie accountant,
Yep.
he made reference the other day to compound interest in the Einstein story, but he forgot the Einstein story. So
Have you got it?
yes.
Oh, here we
All
go.
right, here we go.
Well, see, compound interest is considered the 8th wonder of the world, as Einstein said. And he said, for those who understand that, they will earn it, and for those who don't, will pay it. So that was all with the context of people asking, should we be putting extra money into superannuation? So my answer to that is yes.
One of the things I am looking forward to having kids is as soon as they're born is setting them up with a chess and instantly putting 10 grand under their name and letting them pull them out when it's 30 because people really don't understand. I just wish I knew this 10 years ago, but I don't.
Compound interest is the business.
Yeah, mate, bloody oath.
Well,
No,
mate, well, you were going to wrap it up.
Well,
Go on.
I was just going to say thanks for your time, mate. I mean, it's not easy to come in and tell your story like that. We really do appreciate it. You're a champion bloke, and I'm sure people out there listening, are going to take a lot out of it, and hopefully everyone can be a bit kinder after this podcast and understand that it's all right to be a good bloke.
And I would echo those words, mate. Look, I genuinely appreciate any type of vulnerability that people show, and you epitomising that at the moment. So, yeah, I'm super grateful to have you in here and to tell that story, mate, because it's really cool.
But we're going to play a game of golf definitely in July. That's happening.
All right. Well, thanks for the opportunity, boys.
Are we going to play or are we going to have a hack?
No, we're going to have a hack. Thanks, mate.
All right.
See you, mate.